Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Diddy trial, which just came to a verdict. Obviously, this has been probably one of the biggest news stories in all of America for well over a year at this point. I mean, it's gotten so insane, it's become like a meme, it's become obviously the big news story that it is. You have people referencing it just openly in pop culture and in media and whatnot. I mean, it's been something that realistically, I think people have known about for a long time. Like, it did blow up or whatever when he got arrested and charged with all these things. But even if you go back and you look at clips from 10, 15, 20 years ago, I mean, there were people giving hints that Diddy was into some insane shit all the way back in like 2002, okay? It's not like this is some brand new situation. But anyway, obviously with all the court stuff going on, he's been waiting to see what he's going to be charged with, what he's going to be convicted of. Now, given all of the evidence that has surfaced, all of the allegations that have been levied against Diddy, everything that we've heard over all this time, right? I think most of us were like, okay, this guy's got to go away, right? Like, he's got to go away, not even just for a little bit of time. This is somebody who needs to spend forever behind bars. This is a legitimate menace to society level kind of situation here. It's not like he was stealing 25-cent, candy bars or something from the corner store, or he was like anything like that, a couple tickets with the police. This is like, he's being accused of sex trafficking, extortion, all these different very serious crimes. So there were 5 charges that he was fighting, okay? And today we found out that he was convicted on some and acquitted on others. So we're going to take a look at this here. Sean Diddy Combs was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking charges today and was found guilty on 2 lesser charges of transportation of former girlfriends for prostitution. The verdict is seen as a victory for Combs, who was cleared of the most serious charges against him. His defense team opted not to call witnesses before arresting. The judge is yet to decide if Combs will be released pending sentencing. The defense requested that Combs be released today on a $1 million secured bond, subject to the conditions that he surrender his passport and limit his travel to specific jurisdictions in California, Florida, New York, and New Jersey. Prosecutors said they will seek a 4 to 5 year prison sentence for Combs and is arguing that he is not entitled to release, as the trial proved he repeatedly violated the law even when he knew he was under federal investigation. Combs has vociferously denied the allegations against him. So this is, I don't know, a lot of people are shocked. I really don't know why, and I'll explain why in this video. Now, I, like many other people, seeing what we've seen, hearing what we've heard, I also hoped that Diddy was gonna go away, and I'm not even, trying to be funny in this video. Like I said, I know a lot of people, they think it's a meme or whatever, and I get it, right? Like, I'm not trying to be that woke guy or whatever that's like, no funniness, no jokes, but on a real note, like, I'm trying to be serious in this video, trying to be informative, right? So, I, like many others, genuinely wanted this guy to go away, because, I mean, you see the video footage of him beating the shit out of Cassie Ventura, you hear the allegations of him trafficking women through his mansion for, like, sex parties, he's getting these women all hooked on drugs, he's threatening them, he's being violent towards them, basically extorting them for sex and prostitution and whatnot. You hear about the Diddy freak-offs and whatnot, the things that were going on there, and it's very clear, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is a degenerate, okay? This man is a fucking degenerate. He is scum. He is a stain on society. So, yeah, I'll admit, I wanted this guy to go, but as the way it looks now, he's probably not gonna go for that long, and honestly, I'm not surprised. Like I said, a lot of people seem really shocked that he's not going away, but I'm gonna explain why. I'm not surprised here at all. Now, as we all know, Diddy is a very rich man, okay? I'm not talking he's got a couple million. This is a guy who's been socially relevant for like 30, 35 years now in the rap scene, in entertainment, in Hollywood, all these different business ventures that he's been involved in, right? So this is somebody with money, with power, with prestige. And when you have all of these different things, especially if you have them in combination, let's be real, the rules don't apply to you. You know what I mean? The society and the fabric of it around you, the law and order around you, doesn't apply to you if you're rich and powerful and successful. It's the same thing we see with politicians, it's the same thing we see in Hollywood, it's the same thing we see in all of these higher echelon avenues where people go, they bump elbows with the elites, they become friends with these very important people in high places. And when you get into that lifestyle and when you reach a certain threshold, you really, in a lot of ways, become immune from everything anything else in the world. I mean, how many rich people do you see going to jail for the crimes that they commit? And then when they do go to jail, very frequently, not always, but very frequently, they go to like fake jail where it's more like a fucking resort. A lot of the time, you know, they're not going to general population or anything like that down there with the murderers and the drug dealers and the wife beaters and all that shit, right? They're going to basically like a padded cell. Maybe they get to watch TV. Maybe they even get a phone every once in a while, right? They get to play out on the tennis courts outside in the sun, right? It's like that one scene from Wolf of Wall Street. I know a lot of you have seen that movie after Jordan gets caught at the end, right? And he gets to spend his time playing tennis and all that cool shit. You know, it looks like it's more of a resort. That's the reality for rich people. And obviously Diddy was in that threshold. He was in that upper echelon. So I was not surprised when he wasn't convicted. Now, out of the 5 charges, he was convicted of only a couple, right? And they were the like lesser charges of transportation for his former girlfriends for prostitution. He beat the larger ones like the racketeering, the RICO charge kind of shit, right? Where they're like basically trying to accuse him of being like an organized crime ringleader, where it's like he's the head honcho of this fucking sex trafficking ring and whatnot. He basically got acquitted on all of that shit, and they hit him with the small charges, which is really indicative of basically what, like I just said, you know, you're rich. They're not going to give you the 25 to life charges when you got Diddy money, Diddy power, Diddy respect, right? So now they're seeking a 4 to 5 year prison sentence, which we all know, with all of the things he's accused of doing and whatnot, all the things that he's been up to, we all know that 4 or 5 years is not an adequate punishment or a sentence for somebody who was doing those things. But that's what they're going to do, because if they acquit him on everything and just let him full out walk, you know, that's a massive stain on the justice system. You know, the common folk like you and I, who we would go to jail for virtually anything on the books, right? We may start not believing in the justice system as much anymore. And if you start believing that the police aren't there to protect you, they're just there to generate tax revenue for the local governments and to protect the property of people who own it and whatnot, right? If you start thinking shit like that and you lose faith in the judges and whatnot, then you're not really compatible for their idea of society, because you're not just going to blindly follow along with your brain out one ear and just, you know, ignoring everything. So they have to make it look like they're doing something. They got to make it look like, okay, well, we're going to charge him with something. He's not fully getting away with it, guys, but in all reality, he is. He's going to get 4 or 5 light years of prison. He's going to come right back out. He's still going to have decades probably to be alive. And just, I don't know if, I shouldn't say he'll go right back to what he was doing before, because, I mean, who really knows? I mean, it wouldn't be impossible, but he's going to go right back to living. But ultimately, all the people that he made victims, all these women who he drugged and basically sexually enslaved and was trafficking, the women he was beating the shit out of and, you know, threatening their lives, threatening to kill them if they ever spoke out against him, things like that, they don't get to go back to living a normal life. These women that he brutalized and victimized, they don't get to just return their life back to normal, you know? They gotta live every single day basically reliving all of these horrible things that happened to them. And I know a lot of people, you know, they make the argument, oh, well, these women, they went with it and whatnot, but only to a certain extent, because a lot of the, like, you know, the victim testimony and stuff that we got from these women indicated, you know, they were cool with like the parties, they were cool with like being with Diddy and whatnot. They weren't cool with him drugging them and basically slutting them out and shit like that, right? So there's a very, very like kind of gray area with a lot of this consent and how involved a lot of these victims really were in the whole thing. Ultimately, it shouldn't matter, man. Like, even if these people are quote unquote consenting, the idea of law and order and like having a just society, you shouldn't just be allowed to go around and do the shit that Diddy was doing because people said, oh, you can do that to me. What he did was degenerate. It was fucking immoral. It was disgusting. And if you're somebody who believes in God, obviously this goes against everything that God would ever want for somebody. It goes against anything God would ever teach. It is the most like heinous shit almost that any of us have ever seen in our lifetime, right? This is like almost Jeffrey Epstein level shit in terms of like what was accused. Like, Diddy is basically seen in the same light as Epstein in a lot of ways now, you know what I mean? But ultimately what this shows, and what I suspected was probably going to happen throughout all of this, and I think a lot of other people saw it coming too, is the rich kids club got involved. Like I said earlier in this video, if you're super rich or you're super powerful or important in some way, the law does not apply to you in the same way. So you're allowed to pull shit like this off. But in this case, it's almost like the O.J. Simpson case, right? Where, you know, he said the glove don't fit, he would never do it, you know, all these different things, but most people realize, right, O.J. Simpson committed those murders. Like, he did that shit. He cut those throats. And just because he got acquitted of it in court by a jury that was sympathetic to him or whatever, doesn't mean that the guy is actually innocent, right? It doesn't mean that he didn't do those things. It just means he's not going to be legally punished for what he did. And it's the same instance, at least mentally for me, here with Diddy as well. We all are pretty aware of the fucked up things that this guy was up to. We're all aware of the degeneracy that he was committing and that he was bringing into the world. And just because some judge who may or may not have got a fucking payout, or, you know, prosecutors and jury and whatnot who may have been intimidated, just because all these people say, oh, well, he's not going to be punished that harshly, doesn't mean this guy wasn't up to some fucking disgusting shit, right? Obviously, I think this is a miscarriage of justice, and I think most people would agree this is a miscarriage of justice, but I mean, once again, is it a miscarriage of justice when the entire system is set up to benefit people like this? Is it really a miscarriage of justice when all of this is designed to play out this way? When if you reach the threshold where you're bumping elbows with these elites and you're up there in Hollywood and in the music industry and whatnot, is it really a miscarriage of justice if they just kind of bail you out and give you the super easy to digest charges? You know, you spend 4 years in a resort and then you get to go back to living your normal life like you never did what he did? I don't know. I guess that's just a different way to think about it. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about this. Like I said, it's been one of the biggest stories that's been going on in the last couple of years or whatever here, right? And we finally got an answer on it. It's obviously not the answer most people wanted, but if you're like me and you kind of have that mentality already towards the system and whatever, and like the prosecution and stuff, you were pretty aware that this was probably how it was going to turn out. I mean, money talks, the bullshit walks. And even if money is not exchanging hands, the thought of getting your hands on some of that money will make people do some crazy shit. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubTheOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about Diddy basically being acquitted on most of the charges and signing out.